Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Half-Blood Harry. We are thrilled to present today's story. What if Harry collapsed during Yule Ball and Aphrodite revealed 16 love potions preventing his bond with Percy? If these stories bring joy to your day, please consider liking and subscribing. Every bit of support helps us continue this passion project. Now, prepare yourself for an amazing tale. Chapter 1. The Collapse. Harry tugged at his dress robes for what felt like the 1000th time that night. The great hall sparkled with enchanted frost and twinkling lights, but something felt off. Really off. His head pounded, and his stomach twisted like he'd swallowed a live scrut. "You okay, mate?" Ron asked, though his eyes never left Hermione as she danced with Crumb. "Yeah, fine," Harry mumbled. He wasn't. The punch tasted weird, too sweet, almost sickly. And why couldn't he stop stealing glances at Cho? Or was it Ginny? His thoughts felt scrambled. He took another sip of punch, hoping it would clear his head. It didn't. Across the ocean, Percy Jackson bolted upright in his bunk at Camp Half-Blood, drenched in sweat. The dream had been so vivid: a massive stone castle, moving staircases, and a boy with green eyes like his own and a lightning scar on his forehead. The boy had been in trouble, surrounded by swirling colors that looked like potions from some fantasy game. "Dude, you're freaking out in your sleep again," his cabin mate grumbled from the bunk below. Percy swung his legs over the edge of the bed. "Sorry. Weird dream. Demigod dreams are always weird. Go back to sleep." But Percy couldn't. The castle, the boy, it felt important. Urgent. Like someone was calling for help across a vast distance. Back at Hogwarts, Harry stumbled through a dance with Parvati, his movements growing more uncoordinated by the minute. "Harry, are you drunk?" Parvati hissed, pulling back when he stepped on her toes for the third time. "I haven't had anything except punch," he protested, but his words slurred slightly. The room tilted sideways, then righted itself. Faces around him blurred into smears of color. Parvati's concerned expression. McGonagall's suspicious frown from across the room. Dumbledore's piercing blue eyes watching him over half-moon spectacles. Ginny appeared at his elbow. "Harry, would you like to dance?" she asked, her voice honey-sweet. Something about it made his skin crawl, even as part of his brain screamed at him to say yes. I can't." Harry pressed his palm against his forehead. The pain was getting worse, building behind his eyes like pressure before a storm. Hermione broke away from Crumb, noticing Harry's distress. "Harry? What's wrong?" The music seemed to swell, hammering against his skull. Faces swam in and out of focus. Ginny's hand on his arm felt burning hot. Dumbledore had risen from the head table, moving toward him. Ron looked annoyed. Snape's eyes narrowed with something that wasn't quite suspicion. Was that recognition? "I need air," Harry gasped, but his legs buckled beneath him. His knees hit the stone floor hard. The last thing he heard was Hermione shouting his name before darkness claimed him. Percy bolted across the campgrounds, ignoring the harpies that screeched warnings about curfew violations. He had to find Chiron. The dream connection had intensified. He'd felt the other boy collapse, felt his pain as if it were his own. Something was very wrong. He pounded on the big house door until lights flickered on inside. Chiron answered in his wheelchair form, his ancient eyes alert despite the late hour. "Percy? What's happened?" "Someone's in trouble," Percy blurted. "I don't know who he is or where, but he's like me, somehow. Connected. He just collapsed, and I felt it happen." Chiron's expression darkened. "Come inside. Tell me everything." At Hogwarts, chaos erupted. Students backed away from Harry's crumpled form as teachers pushed through the crowd. Dumbledore knelt beside the unconscious boy, wand already moving in diagnostic patterns. "Stand back, please," McGonagall ordered, conjuring a stretcher. Then the air shimmered, and the temperature in the great hall rose 10 degrees. A scent filled the room, different for each person. Ron smelled freshly baked bread, Hermione old books and mint, Dumbledore lemon drops and woolen socks. The shimmer coalesced into the form of a woman so beautiful that everyone gasped. Her features seemed to shift subtly, becoming what each viewer found most attractive. Her gown sparkled with colors no human eye had seen before. "Step away from him," she commanded, her voice musical and dangerous. Dumbledore stood, impressive in his midnight blue robes. "Madam, you are intruding on a school function." "May I inquire?" "You may not," she cut him off with a wave of her perfectly manicured hand. "I know exactly what you've done, Albus Dumbledore, and I will not allow it to continue." The woman, clearly more than human, knelt beside Harry and placed her palm on his forehead. His body arched, then relaxed. Multicolored steam began to rise from his pores. 16, she said, voice dripping with disgust. 16 different love and loyalty potions, administered over years. Did you think no one would notice? Did you think the gods wouldn't care? Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Ginny Weasley went pale as chalk. Dumbledore's usual twinkling eyes had hardened to ice. Snape looked thunderstruck. "Who are you?" Hermione dared to ask, stepping forward despite Ron trying to pull her back. The woman turned, her smile radiant but terrifying. "I am Aphrodite, goddess of love and beauty. And someone has been tampering with a bond one personally blessed." At Camp Half-Blood, Percy doubled over in pain. It felt like his blood was boiling. "Something's happening to him," he gasped. "It burns." Grover had joined them, hooves nervously clopping on the wooden floor. "Who exactly is him, Percy?" "I don't know his name. But I've been dreaming about him for months. He's in some kind of castle school. He wears robes and carries a stick, a wand, I think. And he has this scar like a lightning bolt." Chiron and Grover exchanged alarmed looks. "What?" Percy demanded. "You know who I'm talking about?" "Harry Potter," Chiron said slowly. "You're describing Harry Potter." "Who?" "A wizard. A very famous wizard from the British magical community." Percy stared. "There are wizards? Actual wizards with wands and everything?" Chiron nodded. "The magical world keeps itself hidden, much as we do. There's little interaction between demigods and wizards these days. It wasn't always so." Another wave of pain hit Percy, less intense but strange, like something locked away had broken free. "We need to help him. Now. Percy, we can't just, he's important. To me. I don't understand why, but he is." Chiron sighed deeply. "I feared this might happen someday. The signs have been there in both your prophecies. If you're connected to Harry Potter, then matters are more complicated than any of us imagined." Back at Hogwarts, Harry's eyes snapped open. They glowed with an eerie sea-green light. Magic crackled around his body, snapping like lightning, smelling of ozone and ocean spray. "What's happening to him?" McGonagall demanded. Aphrodite remained calm as Harry levitated several inches off the floor, still unconscious. "His true magic is asserting itself. The potion suppressed not only his emotions but his power. Watch." Harry's body rotated slowly in midair. Water from every glass, pitcher, and punch bowl in the great hall rose in spiraling tendrils, circling him like planets around a sun. "That's not wizard magic," Snape stated flatly. "No," Aphrodite agreed. "It's the blessing of Poseidon, awakening after years of suppression." Dumbledore stepped forward. "Enough. Whatever game the Olympians are playing, Harry Potter is under my protection as his magical guardian." Aphrodite laughed, the sound like silver bells. "Is that what you call it? You've been feeding him loyalty potions since he was 11. Did you think we wouldn't notice when you interfered with a soul bond we sanctioned? The hall went deathly quiet. Soul bond? Hermione repeated. Harry has a soul bond? With whom? With Percy Jackson, son of Poseidon. Aphrodite waved her hand, and an image appeared, a boy with dark hair and sea-green eyes, currently arguing with a centaur. They are connected across pantheons, across magical traditions. Such bonds are rare and precious. And you, she turned to Dumbledore, have been blocking it. Dumbledore's face revealed nothing. Harry has a destiny to fulfill. Surely the Olympians understand the concept of prophecy. Don't speak to me of prophecies, wizard. We invented them. Aphrodite stood, her full divine presence making everyone step back. The potions are being purged. The bond is reawakening. And Perseus Jackson will be here soon, drawn by the connection. I suggest you prepare yourselves. With that, she vanished in a shower of rose petals, leaving Harry still suspended in his cocoon of water and magic. Percy paced the big house porch. So let me get this straight. Harry Potter is some chosen one wizard who survived a killing curse as a baby, and now he's in a magical tournament, and someone's been poisoning him with love potions to keep us apart because we have some kind of magical bond? Chiron nodded gravely. The Olympians have monitored the wizarding world for centuries. Their prophecies and ours occasionally intersect. I suspected you and Harry might be connected when your powers first manifested, but I hoped. Hoped what? Percy demanded. That the connection would remain dormant. Soul bonds across pantheons are extremely rare and extremely powerful. They tend to attract trouble. He needs help now, Percy insisted. I can feel it. The potions are leaving his system, but it's tearing him apart. Grover chewed nervously on a tin can. How would we even get to Scotland? That's way across the ocean, and you know Zeus will blast you out of the sky if you try to fly. Percy ran his hands through his hair in frustration. Then he felt a tingling at the back of his neck. He turned to find a man standing behind him, athletic, with salt and pepper hair and a mischievous smile, wearing winged sandals. Transportation problem? That's my specialty. The man grinned. Lord Hermes, Chiron bowed his head. To what do we owe the honor? Aphrodite sent me. Said something about reuniting star-crossed lovers torn apart by meddling wizards. Sounded dramatic enough to investigate. Hermes spun his caduceus between his fingers. Ready for a trip to Scotland, nephew? Percy looked to Chiron, who sighed in resignation. Take Grover with you. Try not to start a pantheon war. No promises, Percy said, already moving toward Hermes. How fast can you get us there? The god of travelers winked. Hold on tight and find out. In the Hogwarts hospital wing, Madame Pomfrey worked frantically around Harry's floating form. The water had finally receded, soaking everyone in the vicinity, but his magic continued to spike in dangerous bursts. I've never seen anything like it, she told Dumbledore. His magical core is realigning itself. It's as if he's been under magical suppression for years. Snape stood nearby, his face unreadable. The goddess mentioned 16 different potions. Even I would have detected that level of contamination in his system during routine health checks. Unless someone ensured you wouldn't look, McGonagall said sharply, eyeing Dumbledore. The headmaster ignored the accusation. Harry's destiny is tied to Voldemort's defeat. I've only done what was necessary to ensure he follows the path that will save our world. By poisoning him? Hermione had refused to leave Harry's side. Professor, how could you? Dumbledore's eyes flashed. Miss Granger, there are factors at play that you cannot understand. Sometimes the greater good requires difficult choices. Like lying to a child? Manipulating his feelings? Her voice shook with anger. And what about this soul bond? Who's Percy Jackson? A dangerous complication, Dumbledore said quietly. The Greek gods are volatile, unpredictable. Their involvement in our affairs never ends well. If Harry is truly bonded to a son of Poseidon, then what? Ron asked. He'd been uncharacteristically quiet until now. Then the prophecy may take a different path than I anticipated. Dumbledore straightened his robes. Severus, brew a stabilizing potion for Harry. Minerva, secure the castle. If Aphrodite has revealed our location to Olympus, we may have more divine visitors before the night is through. As they dispersed to follow orders, Ginny Weasley slipped into the hospital wing. Her face was streaked with tears. Is it true? She asked Hermione. About the love potions? Hermione's expression hardened. Madame Pomfrey confirmed at least 7 different love potions in his system. Did you know about this, Ginny? The younger girl's silence was answer enough. How could you? Hermione's voice cracked. Mum said it was just to help him notice me, Ginny whispered. She said his life was so hard, he deserved someone who would love him properly, but he was too busy saving everyone to see what was right in front of him. She looked up, eyes pleading. I didn't know about the other potions, I swear. I didn't know about any soul bond. Harry's body convulsed suddenly, his back arching off the bed. His eyes opened, glowing that strange sea green again. He's coming, Harry gasped, his voice oddly doubled. Percy's coming. Then he collapsed back onto the bed, unconscious once more. Hermes, Percy, and Grover materialized at the edge of a lake, facing a magnificent castle that glittered with lights against the night sky. Whoa, Percy breathed. It's exactly like my dreams. Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, Hermes announced. Founded around 990 AD, home to some of Britain's most powerful wizards, and currently the site of an international magical tournament and, apparently, divine intervention. Is Harry in there? Percy asked, already moving toward the castle. He could feel a pull, like a hook behind his navel, drawing him forward. Hospital wing, North Tower, Hermes confirmed. Fair warning, wizards are touchy about non-magical visitors. And they're especially suspicious of demigods. Our pantheons have history. Complicated history? Grover asked. Let's just say the last time a son of Poseidon entered Hogwarts, half the castle ended up underwater. Hermes adjusted his winged cap. I'll handle the introductions. Try not to flood the place, Percy. They approached the massive oak doors of the entrance hall. Before they could knock, the doors swung open to reveal a severe-looking woman in emerald green robes. Lord Hermes, she said stiffly. We were informed to expect Olympian visitors. Professor McGonagall, Hermes gave a flourishing bow. May I present Percy Jackson, son of Poseidon, and Grover Underwood, Satyr Protector. We're here about your love potion situation. McGonagall's lips thinned to a nearly invisible line. Follow me. The headmaster is expecting you. As they walked through the castle, Percy felt the pull grow stronger with each step. Students in formal wear stopped to stare at them, whispering behind their hands. Is the whole school having a party? Grover asked. The Yule Ball, McGonagall explained shortly. A tradition of the Triwizard Tournament. It was interrupted by tonight's incident. They climbed several staircases that moved beneath their feet, making Grover bleat nervously. Finally, they reached a corridor where several people stood outside large double doors. An old man with a long silver beard and half-moon spectacles stepped forward. Albus Dumbledore, Hermes nodded. It's been, 50 years? Lord Hermes. Dumbledore inclined his head. The last time we met, as I recall, you were delivering a message from Apollo about certain artifacts he claimed were borrowed from his temple. Ancient history, Hermes waved dismissively. We're here about Harry Potter and his connection to young Percy here. Percy barely heard them. His focus had narrowed to what lay beyond those doors. The pull was overwhelming now. "Harry's in there," he said, interrupting the tense exchange. "I need to see him." Dumbledore studied Percy with penetrating blue eyes. "The bond appears genuine," he conceded. "However, I must warn you, Mr. Jackson. Harry Potter's destiny is intertwined with the fate of our world. Any interference." Percy brushed past him and pushed open the doors. The moment he stepped into the hospital wing, every torch flared brighter. Water in pitchers and basins rippled. And the unconscious boy on the bed took a sudden, gasping breath. Percy moved to Harry's side as if drawn by a magnet. Without thinking, he reached out and touched Harry's forehead, directly over the lightning-shaped scar. A shock ran through both boys. Harry's eyes flew open, brilliant green meeting sea green. Magic surged between them, visible as a blue-green light that enveloped their joined hands. "It's you," Harry whispered, voice hoarse. "From my dreams." "Yeah," Percy managed a smile. "Nice to finally meet you, Lightning Boy." In America, at the exact same moment, Poseidon looked up from his underwater throne, sensing a disturbance. His son's power had just doubled, resonating across oceans. "So it begins," he murmured to himself. "The prophecies converge." In the underworld, Hades paused in his work, frowning at the sudden shift in fate lines. "Interesting," he said to no one in particular. "The Potter boy was supposed to die. Perhaps my brother's son will change that." And in a hidden manor house in England, Lord Voldemort opened red, slit-pupilled eyes. Something had changed. The connection to Potter felt different, obscured by something ancient and powerful. "Wormtail," he called, his voice high and cold. "Summon Lucius." "There's been a development." Back at Hogwarts, everyone watched in stunned silence as Harry and Percy continued to stare at each other, magic swirling around them like a miniature hurricane. "What's happening to them?" Ron asked, alarmed. "The soul bond is re-establishing itself," Aphrodite's voice answered. She had reappeared at the foot of Harry's bed, looking pleased. "Now that the potions are purged, their natural connection can flourish." "And what exactly does this bond entail?" Snape asked, suspicious. Aphrodite smiled enigmatically. "Power. Understanding. A shared destiny. And yes, potentially, love, though that's for them to discover." Harry finally broke eye contact with Percy to look around at the gathered crowd. His gaze hardened when it landed on Dumbledore. "You've been dosing me with loyalty potions," he said, voice surprisingly strong. "For years." Dumbledore stepped forward. "Harry, my boy, everything I've done has been to protect you and prepare you, don't." Harry cut him off. "I remember now. Every time I questioned you. Every time I wanted to leave the Dursleys for good. Every time I got angry about being kept in the dark. After each time, you'd offer me tea or lemon drops, and suddenly I'd feel calm, accepting. Willing to do whatever you suggested." His hands clenched into fists. "You stole my choices." Percy squeezed Harry's shoulder in solidarity, understanding all too well what it meant to have your fate manipulated by powerful beings. "And the love potions?" Harry continued, looking around the room. "Who else was involved?" Silence fell. Then Ginny stepped forward, trembling. "Mum and I," she admitted. "But Harry, you thought you knew better than me who I should love?" The hurt in Harry's voice was palpable. "Mate, I didn't know," Ron said quickly. "About any of this." "I believe you," Harry nodded, then turned to Hermione. "Did you?" "Never," she said fiercely. "I would never do that to you, Harry." Madame Pomfrey interrupted, "All business. Mr. Potter needs rest. His system has undergone a tremendous shock. Whatever discussions need to happen can wait until morning." "I'm staying with him," Percy declared, not a question but a statement. Dumbledore started to object, but Hermes stepped in. The boys need time together to stabilize the bond. Separating them now could have explosive consequences. Very well, Dumbledore conceded. But we will have a full discussion in my office tomorrow, Mr. Potter. There are matters of grave importance that this development does not change. After everyone had been ushered out except Percy and Grover, Harry sank back against his pillows, exhausted. So, he said, eyeing Percy. Son of Poseidon? Percy grinned. Yeah. God of the sea, earthquakes, horses. Kind of a big deal. And you're a wizard with a lightning scar who fights dark lords. Guess we both lead weird lives. The weirdest, Harry agreed, a small smile tugging at his lips. I've been dreaming about you for months, you know. I thought I was going crazy. Same here. Kept seeing this skinny kid with a lightning scar getting into trouble. Sounds accurate, Harry admitted. So what is this soul bond thing exactly? Grover, who'd been hanging back awkwardly, cleared his throat. From what I understand, it's super rare. Like, once in 1,000 years rare. It means your souls recognize each other across time and space. You're connected at a fundamental level. But why? Harry asked. Why us? Percy shrugged. Gods work in mysterious ways? Or maybe it's because we're both prophecy kids with daddy issues and a tendency to attract trouble. That startled a laugh out of Harry. You've got me there. His expression sobered. You should know, I've got a dark wizard trying to kill me and apparently a manipulative headmaster using me as a pawn. And I've got gods using me as their errand boy and monsters trying to eat me on a daily basis, Percy countered. Maybe that's why we're bonded. Misery loves company. Harry snorted. For the first time since waking up, he felt like he could breathe. Like something that had been pressing on his chest for years had finally lifted. Get some rest, Percy said, seeing Harry's eyelids droop. I'll be here when you wake up. Promise? Harry murmured, already half asleep. Promise. Apparently, we're stuck with each other now. As Harry drifted off to sleep, Percy settled into a chair beside the bed. Grover munched nervously on the metal bed frame. Chiron said not to start a Pantheon war, the satyr reminded him. Percy looked at the sleeping wizard, feeling protective in a way he couldn't explain. Too late, G-Man. I think we just did. The next morning, chaos reigned at Hogwarts. News had spread about Harry's collapse, Aphrodite's appearance, and the revelation of love potions. By breakfast, the rumors had escalated to include everything from Harry being a secret demigod to Percy being his long-lost brother. Harry woke to find Percy still beside him, drooling slightly in his sleep. The sight made him smile. Whatever this bond was, it felt right in a way few things in his life ever had. A throat cleared from the doorway. Harry looked up to see Professor McGonagall standing there, lips pressed thin. Mr. Potter, the headmaster requests your presence in his office as soon as Madame Pomfrey clears you. Mr. Jackson is, of course, invited as well. We'll be there, Harry said, sitting up straighter. But on our terms, not his. McGonagall studied him for a long moment. You seem different this morning, Potter. I feel different. Clearer. Harry met her gaze steadily. Did you know, Professor? About the potions? She stiffened. I did not. And I assure you, had I known, would have put a stop to it immediately. Harry believed her. Thank you. After she left, Percy stirred and stretched. Morning, lightning boy. Ready to face the music? Harry nodded, more determined than he'd ever felt. Ready to face everything. As they prepared to leave the hospital wing, neither boy noticed the small beetle perched on the windowsill, antenna quivering excitedly. Rita Skeeter had just found the biggest story of her career, and she couldn't wait to share it with the wizarding world. In Dumbledore's office, tension crackled like static. The headmaster sat behind his desk, flanked by Snape and McGonagall. Across from them sat Harry and Percy, with Hermes lounging casually against a bookshelf. "Before we begin," Harry said firmly, "I want to know exactly what potions I was given, who gave them to me, and why." Dumbledore sighed heavily. "Harry, you must understand." "No," Harry cut him off. "No more manipulation. No more, for your own good. The truth, or Percy and I walk out that door right now." Percy nodded in support, impressed by Harry's directness. The kid had backbone. "Very well." Dumbledore removed his glasses, suddenly looking every one of his 100+ years. "You were given a mild loyalty potion, administered through lemon drops and occasional meals, starting after your first year. The goal was to ensure you would trust my guidance during the difficult years ahead." "That's one," Harry said coldly. "Aphrodite mentioned 16. Calming drafts in your pumpkin juice during third year," Snape admitted reluctantly. "On the headmaster's orders. After Black's escape, your emotional state was volatile." "That's 2. Mrs. Weasley began adding attraction potions to food packages in your second year," McGonagall said, her disapproval evident. "Targeting you toward Ginny Weasley. I discovered this only last night." 3 through what? 7? 8? Harry prompted. "The remainder," Dumbledore said carefully, "came from various sources. Miss Romilda Vane attempted several. The Weasley twins tested products on you. And it seems Mr. Malfoy may have attempted to influence your actions through potions in your food on at least 2 occasions. And none of you noticed?" Percy interjected incredulously. "Isn't this supposed to be a school? With teachers who protect students?" "Magical detection is complex," Snape began. "Save it," Percy cut him off. "Where I come from, we call this negligence. Or complicity." Hermes cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should address the more pressing matter, the soul bond and its implications for both pantheons. What does this bond mean, exactly?" Harry asked, turning to the god. Hermes straightened. "Soul bonds between wizards and demigods are exceedingly rare. The last confirmed case was between Godric Gryffindor and a daughter of Athena, which is partly why Gryffindor valued both courage and wisdom." He paced the office. "Such bonds combine the strengths of both magical traditions. Percy's control over water and earth magic will enhance your wizarding abilities, Harry. And Percy will gain access to certain aspects of wizarding magic." "The prophecy," Dumbledore murmured. "This changes everything." "What prophecy?" Percy and Harry asked simultaneously. Dumbledore hesitated, then seemed to reach a decision. "The one made before your birth, Harry. The reason Voldemort targeted your family." He rose and moved to a cabinet, withdrawing a stone basin etched with runes. "I believe it's time you heard it in full." He placed his wand to his temple and drew out a silvery strand, depositing it in the basin. A figure rose from the swirling substance, a woman with huge glasses and a shawl, speaking in a harsh, rasping voice. "The one with the power to vanquish the Dark Lord approaches, born to those who have thrice defied him, born as the 7th month dies, and the Dark Lord will mark him as his equal, but he will have power the Dark Lord knows not, and either must die at the hand of the other, for neither can live while the other survives. The one with the power to vanquish the Dark Lord will be born as the 7th month dies." Silence fell as the figure sank back into the basin. "So I have to kill him, or he kills me," Harry said flatly. "That's what you've been preparing me for." "Yes," Dumbledore admitted. "But the power the Dark Lord knows not, I believed it to be love. Now, I wonder if it might be this bond with Mr. Jackson." Percy frowned. "Wait, you were grooming Harry to fight some super-powerful dark wizard?" "He's 14. The timeline was to be considerably longer," Dumbledore assured him. Years of training and preparation. While keeping me compliant with potions, Harry added bitterly. What about my prophecy? Percy asked Hermes. How does that fit in? The god looked uncomfortable. That's where things get complicated. Your great prophecy speaks of a half-blood of the eldest gods reaching 20 against all odds and making a choice that saves or destroys Olympus. We believed it referred solely to the rising threat of Kronos. Now you think it's connected to my fight with Voldemort, Harry finished. The timing aligns too perfectly to be coincidence, Hermes confirmed. Which is why Aphrodite took such an interest in your bond. If your fates are intertwined, then both prophecies may be fulfilled together. Percy ran a hand through his hair in frustration. Great. So now we're both child soldiers in two different wars that might actually be the same war. That about sums it up, Harry agreed grimly. Suddenly, the office door burst open. Cornelius Fudge strode in, flanked by two Aurors and a toad-like woman in pink. Dumbledore. What is the meaning of this? Fudge brandished a copy of the Daily Prophet. The headline screamed, Potter poisoned, love potions, Greek gods, and Hogwarts scandal. How did, McGonagall began. Rita Skeeter, Harry muttered. Should have guessed. Fudge pointed a shaking finger at Percy. And this must be the alleged demigod. Do you have any idea of the international incident you've caused? The statute of secrecy violations? Minister, Dumbledore began soothingly, I assure you, save your assurances. Fudge snapped. The Ministry is taking control of this situation. Mr. Potter will be removed to St. Mungo's for evaluation. The foreign national will be detained for questioning. Percy tensed, hand moving to his pocket where Riptide waited. Harry stood, placing himself between Percy and the Aurors. I'm not going anywhere, Harry stated. And neither is Percy. You don't have a choice, dear boy, the pink-clad woman simpered. I am Dolores Umbridge, Senior Undersecretary to the Minister. We have the authority to remove you for your own protection. Hermes stepped forward, his casual demeanor replaced with divine authority. I wouldn't recommend that approach. Attempting to separate bonded souls can have explosive consequences. Especially when one is under the protection of Olympus. Olympus has no jurisdiction here, Umbridge said dismissively. This is a wizarding matter. Is it? Hermes raised an eyebrow. Thunder rumbled outside, despite the clear sky. Would you like to explain that position to my father, Zeus? Or perhaps to Poseidon, whose son you're threatening? Fudge paled slightly. Now see here, the water in Dumbledore's silver instruments began to bubble. The windows rattled. Harry felt power surging through him, his own and Percy's, feeding off each other. Minister, Harry said, surprised at how steady his voice sounded, I suggest you reconsider. Percy and I aren't going anywhere until we figure this out ourselves. And if you try to force us, Percy added, the threat clear in his voice, you might find out exactly what a son of Poseidon and a wizard can do together. As if to emphasize his point, water burst from every container in the room, forming a swirling shield around the two boys. Harry's wand glowed with green light, matching Percy's eyes. Fudge took an involuntary step back. This is outrageous. Dumbledore, control your student. I'm afraid, Minister, that Harry is quite right. He and Mr. Jackson must remain together while their bond stabilizes. Any attempt to separate them could result in catastrophic magical backlash. Dumbledore's eyes twinkled with what might have been approval. Perhaps we could discuss this matter calmly over tea? Umbridge's face had turned an ugly shade of puce. This isn't over, she hissed. The Ministry will not tolerate interference from foreign magical entities. Then it's fortunate I'm not a magical entity, Percy retorted. I'm a demigod. Different jurisdiction entirely. The standoff might have continued indefinitely if not for a sudden flash of light. Aphrodite appeared, this time accompanied by a tall, powerfully built man with a neatly trimmed beard and sea-green eyes identical to Percy's. "Dad?" Percy blurted in shock. "Percy." Poseidon nodded. "I see you found your wizard." "Lord Poseidon," Dumbledore bowed deeply. "This is an unexpected honor." "Albus." The god's voice was like waves crashing on rocks. "It's been some time. The last occasion, I believe, was the global wizarding war. You were facing that unpleasant fellow with the heterochromia." "Grindelwald, yes." Fudge looked ready to faint. "The god of the sea. In Hogwarts. Sweet Merlin." "Minister Fudge," Poseidon turned his ancient eyes to the politician. "I understand you wish to interfere with my son and his bonded partner." "And not at all," Fudge stammered. "A misunderstanding." "Excellent." Poseidon smiled, though it didn't reach his eyes. "Because the Olympian Council has taken a special interest in this case. The combined prophecies have implications for both our worlds." Aphrodite stepped forward. "The boys will remain together to explore their bond. That is non-negotiable." "But the tournament," Umbridge protested weakly. "Potter is a champion." "Then Mr. Jackson will assist him," Poseidon declared. "The rules allow for consultation in exceptional circumstances. I believe divine intervention qualifies." The room fell silent as everyone processed this development. Then Harry cleared his throat. "Excuse me," he said, "but don't we get a say in this? Percy and I are the ones with the bond, after all." Percy nodded firmly. "Yeah, I'm with Harry. We're not just pawns for your prophecies and plans." Poseidon studied his son with something like pride. "What would you propose, then?" Percy and Harry exchanged a look, some unspoken communication passing between them. "We stay together," Harry said. "We learn about this bond. We figure out what it means for both of us. And we decide how to use it," Percy added. "Not the gods, not the ministry, not Dumbledore. Us." "Bold," Aphrodite murmured, looking delighted. Poseidon nodded slowly. "Very well. You have the support of Olympus in this endeavor. Within reason." He turned to Dumbledore. "I trust Hogwarts will accommodate my son." "Of course," the headmaster agreed quickly. "We can arrange quarters for Mr. Jackson immediately." "See that you do." Poseidon moved to Percy and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Be careful, son. This bond is powerful, but it also makes you vulnerable. Your enemies, and Harry's, will target it." "We can handle it," Percy said confidently. "Together," Harry added. As the gods prepared to depart, Hermes turned to Fudge with a wink. "I'd start preparing your diplomatic corps, Minister. Once word gets out that Hogwarts is hosting the first wizard-demigod pair in centuries, you'll have representatives from every pantheon knocking at your door." "Every pantheon?" Fudge squeaked. "Oh yes. The Egyptians are particularly interested in wizard-demigod dynamics. And the Norse haven't had good relations with wizards since that unpleasantness with Grindelwald trying to steal Thor's hammer." Hermes grinned wickedly. "Exciting times ahead." With that, the gods vanished, leaving behind the scent of ocean spray and roses. Fudge turned to Dumbledore, ashen-faced. "Fix this, Albus. Whatever it takes. I'm afraid, Cornelius, that some forces are beyond even my control." Dumbledore's gaze shifted to Harry and Percy, standing side by side. "Perhaps it's time we all learn to adapt." As the adults continued arguing, Percy leaned close to Harry. "Is it always this crazy around here?" Harry smiled wryly. "Actually, this is pretty standard for a Tuesday at Hogwarts." Percy laughed. "Then we're going to get along just fine, Lightning Boy." For the first time in what felt like forever, Harry felt a genuine spark of hope. Whatever this bond was wherever it led, at least he wasn't facing it alone. Yeah, he agreed. I think we are. Chapter 2, Revelations and Reunions. News traveled fast at Hogwarts, but this time it broke the sound barrier. By lunch, every student knew about Harry's collapse, the appearance of Greek gods, and the arrival of Percy Jackson, son of Poseidon and Harry's supposed soulmate. Honestly, you'd think people would have better things to do, Harry grumbled as they walked through the corridor, ignoring the stares and whispers. Percy shrugged. At least they're not trying to kill us. Yet. They'd spent the morning in an unused classroom near Gryffindor Tower, which McGonagall had hastily converted into temporary quarters for Percy. The room contained a bed, a desk, and a small bathroom, but the real centerpiece was a massive stone basin filled with enchanted water that cycled through like a fountain. Thought you might appreciate a piece of home, McGonagall had said stiffly, though her eyes had softened when Percy's face lit up. Now they headed to the Great Hall for lunch, flanked by Ron and Hermione, who'd appointed themselves unofficial bodyguards. I still can't believe Dumbledore did this, Hermione fumed for the dozenth time. It's not just unethical, it's illegal. Administering potions without consent carries a minimum 5-year sentence in Azkaban. Yeah, well, when you're the supreme mugwump, I guess laws are more like suggestions, Ron said darkly. He'd been uncharacteristically serious since learning about his mother's involvement. Harry, I swear I didn't know about Mum and Ginny. I believe you, Harry assured him. Besides, after everything that happened last night, I feel clearer than I have in years. Like I can finally think for myself. Percy nodded. The bond's helping stabilize your system. I can feel it. That was an understatement. Since waking up, both boys had discovered they could sense each other's emotions, general location, and even share flashes of thought when in physical contact. It should have been invasive, terrifying even, but instead felt natural, like recovering something they'd lost. The Great Hall fell silent when they entered. Then the whispers started. Says they're soulmates, Greek gods actually showed up, love potions in his food for years, heard the demigod flooded the ministry. Percy leaned close to Harry. Is the ceiling actually enchanted to look like the sky, or am I hallucinating? Harry grinned. Enchanted. Hermione could give you the full history, it's in Hogwarts, a history. Which you'd know if you ever read it, Hermione chimed in automatically. They made it halfway to the Gryffindor table when Draco Malfoy stepped into their path, flanked by Crabbe and Goyle. So Potter, he drawled, first Dementors, now love potions. Can't go a year without a dramatic health crisis, can you? Harry tensed, but Percy just cocked his head. You must be the ferret guy, he said conversationally. Malfoy's pale face flushed pink. What did you say? Harry's mentioned you. Said you made a cute ferret. Percy grinned. I'm Percy Jackson, by the way. Son of Poseidon, Harry's soulmate, general troublemaker. And you are? Draco Malfoy, he replied stiffly, clearly thrown off his game. Cool. Quick question, did you really put love potions in Harry's food? Because that's super creepy, dude. Malfoy spluttered. I never, that's ridiculous, really? Because Aphrodite specifically mentioned you. And she's, you know, the literal goddess of love. Pretty sure she can tell who's been messing with love potions. The Slytherin went from pink to white. It wasn't, he glanced around at the listening crowd. It was just a prank. To make Potter embarrass himself. By manipulating his emotions without consent, Percy nodded. Got it. Where I come from, we call that assault. Harry stared at Percy in amazement. In less than a minute, he'd done what Harry had never managed in 4 years, left Malfoy completely wrong-footed. This isn't over, Malfoy hissed, retreating. My father will hear about this. Looking forward to it. Percy called after him. I love meeting new people who think their dads can solve all their problems. Ron snorted so hard pumpkin juice came out his nose. That was bloody brilliant. They settled at the Gryffindor table, where Fred and George immediately squeezed in beside them. "Harry, old chap, our favorite unwitting test subject, is it true that we accidentally love potioned you?" Harry sighed. "According to Aphrodite, yes. Something about your prototype mood-enhancing sweets in third year." The twins exchanged horrified looks. Merlin saggy, "We had no idea, those were supposed to just make you cheerful. Not, you know, amorous." "They clearly needed more testing," Hermione said acidly. "We're really sorry, Harry, would never intentionally, if we'd known." "It's fine," Harry cut them off. "Just, maybe ask for volunteers next time." Fred and George nodded vigorously, then turned their attention to Percy. "So you're the demigod, son of Poseidon, can you really control water? And talk to horses? And cause earthquakes?" Percy blinked at the rapid-fire questioning. Yes, and only when I'm really angry, which happens more often than I'd like." The twins' eyes gleamed with identical mischievous lights. "We need to talk business, imagine the prank possibilities." Later, Harry intervened, seeing Percy's overwhelmed expression. "Percy's still getting used to Hogwarts." "Fair enough. The offer stands." As they ate, Percy tried various wizarding foods with open enthusiasm, declaring treacle tart possibly better than blue cookies, and pumpkin juice weird but not bad. "So what happens now?" Ron asked, attacking his third helping of shepherd's pie. "Professor McGonagall's arranged for Percy to attend classes with me," Harry explained. "And we're supposed to meet with Dumbledore after lunch to discuss everything." Hermione lowered her voice. "What about the tournament? The second task is in February." Harry groaned. "I haven't even thought about that. I still haven't figured out the egg clue." "Egg clue?" Percy asked. "Part of the tournament. I got a golden egg from the first task, but when I open it, it just makes this horrible shrieking sound." Percy frowned thoughtfully. "Can I see it after lunch? Might be something water-related. That's kind of my specialty." Before Harry could reply, the great hall doors banged open. Molly Weasley marched in, face flushed with emotion, Arthur trailing apologetically behind her. "Oh no," Ron muttered. "Here we go." Molly made a beeline for their table, ignoring the curious stares. "Harry, dear. Are you all right? We came as soon as we heard." Harry stiffened. This was the woman who'd been secretly feeding him love potions for years. He'd trusted her, seen her as a mother figure. The betrayal stung worse than Dumbledore's. "Mrs. Weasley," he said coolly. She faltered at his tone. "Harry? What's wrong, dear? I think you know." Arthur stepped forward, looking grave. "Harry, I want you to know that I had no idea what Molly and Ginny were doing. None whatsoever." "Arthur!" Molly protested. "No, Molly. This needs to be addressed." His normally kind face looked stern. "Harry deserves the truth." Percy watched the exchange silently, feeling Harry's emotions through their bond, hurt, betrayal, anger, but also confusion. He nudged Harry's foot under the table, a silent gesture of support. "Why?" Harry asked Molly directly. "Why would you do that to me?" Molly's eyes welled with tears. "Oh, Harry, I only wanted what was best for you. You've been through so much, with no proper family to care for you. I just wanted to help you find happiness with someone who truly loves you. By taking away my choice?" Harry's voice cracked. "That's not love, Mrs. Weasley. That's control. You don't understand," she insisted. "You're so young, Mrs. Weasley," Percy interrupted. "I'm Percy Jackson. Nice to meet you." He extended his hand, his expression friendly but his eyes hard. Molly looked startled but shook his hand automatically. Oh. Hello. I'm curious about something. If someone gave your husband a potion to make him fall in love with someone else, would you be cool with that? Molly gasped. Of course not. That would be horrible. But that's exactly what you did to Harry, Percy pointed out. You decided who he should love, then chemically forced him to feel it. That's completely different. Molly protested. I was helping him. How is it different? Harry asked quietly. Because I'm young? Because I'm Harry Potter? Because you think you know better than I do who I should be with? The great hall had gone silent, everyone watching the confrontation. Arthur placed a hand on his wife's shoulder. Molly, what you and Ginny did was wrong, he said firmly. There's no justification for it. But Albus said, Molly began, then stopped abruptly. Harry's eyes narrowed. Dumbledore told you to give me love potions? Not exactly. Molly looked flustered. He mentioned that you and Ginny would make a good match. That you needed a strong witch from a light family. That it might be good for both of you if you noticed each other. And you took that to mean drug him? Percy asked incredulously. I never intended. Molly's protest was cut short as the doors opened again. This time, it was Dumbledore who entered, accompanied by a man Harry didn't recognize, tall, muscular, with a leather jacket and sunglasses despite being indoors. The stranger radiated aggression like heat from a fire. Percy tensed immediately. Ares, he muttered. The god of war? Hermione whispered, eyes wide. The jackass of war, more like, Percy corrected under his breath. Dumbledore approached their table, smiling benignly as if yesterday's revelations had never happened. Ah, Harry, Mr. Jackson. I see you've met Mr. and Mrs. Weasley. Excellent timing. If you would both please join me in my office? We have an important visitor from Olympus. We noticed, Harry said dryly, eyeing Ares. The war god smirked. Hey, punk. Been a while. Not long enough, Percy replied, standing. Last I saw you, you were limping away from a beach in California. Ares' smile vanished. Watch it, Jackson. I'm here on official business. Let's discuss this somewhere more private, Dumbledore suggested smoothly. Harry exchanged looks with Ron and Hermione. We'll catch up later. As they followed Dumbledore and Ares out of the hall, leaving the Weasleys behind, Harry whispered to Percy, What's your history with Ares? Beat him in a fight when I was 12. He's been holding a grudge ever since. Harry nearly tripped. You beat the god of war in a fight? At 12? Percy shrugged. Made him bleed, anyway. Gods don't like being humiliated by mortals. That's impressive. Says the guy who killed a basilisk with a sword at the same age. Harry blinked. How did you know about that? The bond, Percy explained. I get flashes sometimes. Memories, feelings. Don't worry, it's not mind reading. Just impressions. That's why you feel so familiar, Harry realized. Like I've known you forever. Percy nodded. Same here. Weird, right? In a good way, Harry admitted. They reached the stone gargoyle guarding Dumbledore's office. Sugar quills, the headmaster said, and the gargoyle leapt aside. Once inside, they found the office already occupied. Hermione's arms, who'd apparently taken a shortcut, Aphrodite lounged elegantly on a conjured chaise, while Professor McGonagall stood stiffly by Dumbledore's desk. Excellent, we're all here, Dumbledore said cheerfully, as if hosting a pleasant tea party rather than a divine intervention. Now, perhaps our Olympian guests could explain the purpose of their visit? Aphrodite smiled radiantly. We're here about the tournament, of course. The second task. It's water-based, isn't it? McGonagall looked startled. How did you, goddess, darling? Aphrodite waved a dismissive hand. We know these things. And given that Percy here is the son of Poseidon, it seemed appropriate that he assist Harry. That wasn't the plan, Ares growled. The punk shouldn't be involved at all. He's got his own prophecy to deal with. Which is now intertwined with Harry's, Aphrodite countered. The fates themselves have confirmed it. Harry cleared his throat. Excuse me, but what exactly is the second task? Dumbledore hesitated, then sighed. The champions must recover something precious from the bottom of the Black Lake. Underwater? Harry's stomach dropped. For how long? 1 hour. Percy snorted. That's it? An hour underwater? Dude, I can help you breathe down there for days if needed. That would be cheating, Mr. Jackson, McGonagall said primly. Actually, Dumbledore interjected, the rules state that champions may seek advice and assistance in preparing for each task. They simply cannot receive direct help during the task itself. Ares leaned forward. Here's the deal, punks. Olympus has an interest in this tournament now. Too many prophecies converging. Zeus doesn't like it. When does Zeus like anything? Percy muttered. Thunder rumbled ominously outside. Maybe don't antagonize the king of the gods, Harry suggested. Solid advice, Ares agreed. Here's how this goes down. Jackson helps Potter prepare for the task. But during the task, you're on your own, wizard boy. And after that, Jackson returns to Camp Half-Blood where he belongs. No, Harry and Percy said simultaneously. Ares raised an eyebrow behind his sunglasses. Excuse me? I'm not going anywhere, Percy stated. The bond needs time to stabilize. Separating us could be dangerous. And who told you that? Aphrodite? Ares scoffed. She's playing matchmaker, not thinking about the bigger picture. The bigger picture being? Harry asked. War, kid. Big war coming for both of you. Kronos rising. Voldemort returning. The prophecies are clear, you each have your own path to follow. Perhaps, Dumbledore said thoughtfully, but those paths may run parallel for a time. Aphrodite rose gracefully. Exactly my point, Albus. The boys need each other to fulfill their respective prophecies. Their combined power will be crucial. Their combined power could destroy half of Europe if they lose control, Ares countered. Did you feel what happened when they first touched? That was just the beginning. Harry remembered the surge of energy, the way water and magic had responded to them. It had felt incredible, powerful but right, like finding a missing piece of himself. We're not separating, Harry said firmly. And we're not just weapons in your wars, either. Percy nodded. We're people. With choices. Deal with it. Ares' sunglasses melted away, revealing eyes that were actually miniature nuclear explosions, red and violent. You've got guts, I'll give you that. But this isn't a request. It's an order. From Olympus. Last I checked, Percy said coolly, I don't take orders from Olympus. And Harry doesn't either. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Ares stood, his leather jacket smoking slightly. You want to go another round, Jackson? Because I've been waiting for a rematch. Percy stepped forward, hand moving to his pocket where Harry knew he kept his sword pen. Any time, anywhere. Gentlemen. Dumbledore intervened, his voice suddenly powerful. This is a school, not a battlefield. If you wish to engage in divine combat, please do so elsewhere. Aphrodite laughed, a sound like silver bells. Oh, Ares, they've called your bluff. How delicious. She turned to Harry and Percy. Don't mind him, dears. He's just following orders, like a good little soldier. Whose orders? Harry asked suspiciously. Zeus? Among others. Aphrodite examined her perfect nails. There are factions forming on Olympus regarding your bond. Some see it as an opportunity. Others, a threat. And where do you stand? Percy asked. She smiled warmly. I'm the goddess of love, darling. I always stand with the heart. And soul bonds are my specialty. Speaking of which, Harry said, we still don't fully understand what this bond is or what it means for us. Aphrodite brightened. Finally, a topic worth discussing. Your bond is ancient magic, older than Hogwarts, older than Olympus itself. When two souls recognize each other across pantheons, it creates a bridge between magical traditions. You'll share abilities, strengths, even certain memories and feelings. We've noticed, Percy admitted. That's just the beginning. As the bond strengthens, you'll develop new abilities neither wizards nor demigods typically possess. Your magic will blend and evolve. Is that why I can suddenly sense water everywhere? Harry asked. The pipes in the walls, the lake outside, even the moisture in the air? Precisely. And Percy, have you noticed anything new? Percy hesitated, then nodded. Wands respond to me now. I picked up Harry's earlier and shot out sparks. And I can see this, energy around magical objects. The blending of powers, Dumbledore murmured. Fascinating. It's dangerous, Ares insisted. Mixing pantheon magic always ends badly. Only when it's forced, Aphrodite corrected. This bond formed naturally. The potions were suppressing it, not creating it. About those potions, Harry said, steering the conversation. You mentioned 16 different ones. Who administered them all? And when? McGonagall conjured a roll of parchment. We've compiled a list, Mr. Potter. It's extensive. Harry took the parchment, Percy reading over his shoulder. Loyalty potion, Albus Dumbledore, first administered July 1992, repeated doses through lemon drops and tea calming draft, modified, Severus Snape, administered during meals, September 1993 to June 1994 Amortentia, mild, Molly Weasley, first administered August 1992, repeated in food packages Amortentia, mild, Ginny Weasley, added to chocolates, Valentine's Day 1993, repeated instances jealousy inducer, Draco Malfoy. Slipped into pumpkin juice, October 1993 confusion concoction, Draco Malfoy, added to food, February 1994 mood enhancer, prototype, Fred and George Weasley, test candy, January 1994 courage enhancer, prototype, Fred and George Weasley, test candy, April 1994 inhibition lower, Romilda Vane, spiked chocolates. December 1994 attraction potion, Romilda Vane, spiked drink, December 1994 befuddlement draft, unknown, detected in system, March 1993 compliance potion, mild, Albus Dumbledore, added to meals, various instances Amortentia, trace, Colin Creevey, contaminated gift, February 1993 infatuation elixir, unknown Hufflepuff student, Valentine's Day 1994 suggestion solution, Barty Crouch Jr. As Moody, added to flask water, September 1994 emotion dampener, unknown, detected in system, various instances Harry stared at the list, feeling sick. All these people, they've been manipulating me for years. Not all intentionally, McGonagall said quickly. The Creevey boy, for instance, was likely given the potion by someone else to pass along to you. And the unknown instances could be from misguided admirers. That doesn't make it better, Percy pointed out. It means everyone saw Harry as someone they could control or manipulate. Some with better intentions than others, Dumbledore allowed. I, for instance, don't, Harry cut him off. Don't try to justify it. Ever. An uncomfortable silence fell. Even Ares looked impressed by Harry's steel. Well, Aphrodite finally said, the important thing is that the potions are gone now. Your bond is free to develop as it should. Which brings me to our next point, training. Training? Percy repeated. You need to learn to control your combined abilities, she explained. They'll only grow stronger with time. Without proper training, you could inadvertently cause problems. What kind of problems? Harry asked warily. Ares grinned unpleasantly. The last wizard demigod pair accidentally triggered an earthquake that sank part of Atlantis. That's an exaggeration, Aphrodite said with a glare at Ares. But yes, your power together is significant. You'll need guidance. From whom? Percy asked. No offense, but I'm not taking lessons from Warboy here. Ares growled, but Aphrodite laughed. No, dear. I was thinking of someone with experience in both magical traditions. She turned to Dumbledore. Is Chiron still welcome at Hogwarts, Albus? Dumbledore's eyebrows rose. Chiron hasn't set hoof in these halls for centuries. Wait, Harry interrupted. Percy's mentor Chiron? The centaur? The trainer of heroes himself, Aphrodite confirmed. He's trained wizards before, in the old days when the pantheons were less separated. And he's certainly qualified to help with your unique situation. Chiron coming to Hogwarts? Percy grinned. That would be awesome. It would solve several problems, Dumbledore admitted. Mr. Jackson needs supervision by a qualified instructor, and neither our staff nor the ministry is equipped to handle demigod abilities. Then it's settled. Aphrodite clapped her hands delightedly. Chiron will arrive tomorrow to begin your training. Ares stood. Zeus won't like this. Zeus rarely likes anything, as Percy so astutely observed, Aphrodite replied sweetly. But he'll accept it. The fates have made their position clear, the boys stay together. Fine, Ares growled. But when this blows up in your face, and it will, I'll be there to say I told you so. He fixed Percy with a burning glare. Watch your back, Jackson. Not everyone on Olympus is as fond of you as Aphrodite. With that, he vanished in a flash of red light, leaving behind the smell of blood and gunpowder. He's always been so dramatic, Aphrodite sighed. Now, dears, I must go too. Olympian business to attend to. But I'll be keeping an eye on your progress. She kissed each boy on the cheek, filling them with a momentary warmth, then disappeared in a swirl of rose petals. Well, Dumbledore said, as if divine visitations were an everyday occurrence, that was most illuminating. Professor McGonagall, perhaps you could arrange suitable accommodations for Chiron? He'll require special considerations, given his physical attributes. McGonagall nodded. I'll see to it, Headmaster. And now, Harry, Mr. Jackson, I believe your friends are anxiously awaiting news. You may go. But Harry, Dumbledore's eyes lost their twinkle, becoming serious, we must still discuss the tournament and other matters, at some point. We will, Harry agreed. But on my terms. Not yours. As they left the office, Percy bumped Harry's shoulder lightly. Nice backbone, Potter. You're getting good at standing up to authority figures. I learned from the best, Harry grinned. From what I can tell through our bond, you've been annoying God since you were 12. It's a talent. Percy's smile faded slightly. But Ares is right about one thing, our powers together could be dangerous if we don't learn to control them. I almost flooded my cabin last night just dreaming about you. And I set my curtains on fire, Harry admitted. Seamus was jealous, that's usually his trick. They headed toward Gryffindor Tower, where they'd agreed to meet Ron and Hermione. So, Harry said after a moment, think you can help me with that underwater task? Percy's grin returned, mischievous and confident. Underwater is my specialty. If you're willing to trust me, I can make you as comfortable down there as if you were born to it. I do trust you, Harry realized with surprise. Completely. Is that weird after knowing you for less than a day? Probably. But nothing about our lives has ever been normal, so why start now? Harry laughed. For the first time since his name came out of the Goblet of Fire, he felt genuinely hopeful about the tournament. Back in Gryffindor Tower, they found Ron, Hermione, and Neville waiting in the common room, along with a fair number of curious onlookers pretending not to eavesdrop. What happened? Hermione demanded as soon as they climbed through the portrait hole. Was that really Ares with Dumbledore? Yep, Percy confirmed, flopping into an armchair. God of War, major attitude problem, holds a grudge worse than Snape. Worse than Snape? Ron looked horrified at the concept. What did he want? Neville asked quietly. Usually shy, his curiosity had apparently overcome his reticence. Harry explained about the meeting, the disagreement over whether Percy should stay, and the news that Chiron would be coming to Hogwarts. Another centaur? Hermione's eyes lit up. But Chiron is legendary. The trainer of Hercules and Jason and, yeah, he's pretty cool, Percy agreed. Old as dirt, but cool. You'll like him. Did you find out more about the bond? Neville asked. Harry nodded. A bit. Apparently it's why we can sense each other's feelings and share some abilities. I can feel water everywhere now, and Percy can see magic. Wicked, Ron breathed. Can you, read each other's minds? Not exactly, Percy said. It's more like, impressions. Flashes of memory sometimes. Emotions. But it's growing stronger, Harry added. This morning I could tell Percy was lost on his way back from the bathroom without seeing or hearing him. And I knew Harry was having an argument with his roommate about socks. Dean leaves them everywhere, Harry explained when Ron looked confused. Fascinating, Hermione murmured. A cross-pantheon soul bond. I need to research this. Good luck, Percy said. According to Aphrodite, it's super rare. Only happened a handful of times in history. What about the list? Ron asked, his expression darkening. The potions? Harry hesitated, then handed over McGonagall's parchment. Ron and Hermione read it together, their faces growing increasingly horrified. 16 different potions? Hermione whispered. Over 3 years? Harry, it's a miracle you've been able to function at all. Ron looked sick. Mum and Ginny, and Fred and George. I can't believe it. Don't forget Dumbledore and Snape, Harry pointed out bitterly. Neville, reading over their shoulders, looked up with uncharacteristic anger. This is terrible. People you trusted, betraying you like this. Percy, feeling Harry's emotions spiraling through their bond, reached over and squeezed his shoulder. Immediately, Harry felt calmer, steadier. Thanks, he murmured. Percy nodded, understanding. So what now? Ron asked. I mean, with Chiron coming and the second task. Now we train, Harry said decisively. Percy's going to help me with the underwater task. And we need to learn how to control our combined abilities. Can we help? Hermione asked eagerly. Actually, yeah. Percy turned to her. We need information. About soul bonds, about wizard-demigod interactions, anything you can find. Hermione nodded seriously. I'll start researching right away. And we'll need space to practice, Harry added. Somewhere private where we won't blow things up accidentally. The room of requirement, Neville suggested suddenly. Everyone turned to him in surprise. The what? Percy asked. It's a hidden room on the 7th floor, Neville explained, gaining confidence. My Gran told me about it. It becomes whatever you need it to be. If you need a training room, that's what it'll give you. Neville, that's brilliant. Harry exclaimed. Can you show us? Sure. Neville looked pleased at being helpful. We can go after dinner. The portrait hole opened again, and Ginny entered. She froze when she saw Harry and Percy, her face flushing bright red. An awkward silence fell. Percy felt Harry's emotions surge: anger, hurt, confusion. I'll just go, Ginny mumbled, turning to leave. Wait, Harry called, surprising himself as much as everyone else. We should talk. Ron looked between them nervously. Maybe we should give you some privacy. No, Harry said firmly. I don't want privacy. I've had enough secrets and whispers. Anything Ginny has to say, she can say in front of my friends. He looked directly at Percy. All of my friends. Ginny reluctantly approached, not quite meeting Harry's eyes. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. What Mum and I did was wrong. Why? Harry asked simply. Why did you do it? She bit her lip. I had a crush on you forever. The boy who lived. Then you saved me from the chamber, and it got worse. When Mum suggested the potions, it seemed. I don't know, like fate helping us along. She looked up, tears in her eyes. I know it was wrong. I was stupid and selfish. Yes, you were, Harry agreed, not unkindly. But I understand having a crush. What I don't understand is thinking it's okay to force someone to have feelings they don't actually have. Ginny nodded miserably. I know. It's inexcusable. I wanted it so badly. For you to notice me. I did notice you, Harry pointed out. As Ron's sister. As a friend. That should have been enough. It should have been, she agreed quietly. I'm really sorry, Harry. I know you probably can't forgive me, but I needed you to know that I regret it. Completely. Harry was silent for a long moment. Through their bond, Percy could feel his conflicted emotions, the desire to forgive warring with the sense of violation. I can't forgive you yet, Harry finally said. But I appreciate the apology. It's a start. Ginny nodded, wiping away tears. Thank you for even listening to me. I'll go now. After she left, Ron let out a long breath. Well, that was intense. You handled that really well, Hermione told Harry. Better than I would have. Harry shrugged. I've had enough anger and resentment in my life. I'm not saying what she did was okay, but holding grudges takes energy I need for other things. Like not drowning in the Black Lake next month. Percy grinned. Speaking of which, want to see that egg clue now? If it's water-related, I might be able to help. Yeah, let me grab it from my dorm. While Harry fetched the golden egg, Percy explained to the others about the underwater task. An hour under the Black Lake in February? Ron looked horrified. That's mental. You'll freeze. Not with me helping, Percy said confidently. Water temperature doesn't affect me. I can extend that protection to Harry. You can create a bubblehead charm that lasts an hour? Hermione asked skeptically. Percy laughed. Better. I can make him breathe underwater. Actually breathe water, not just air underwater. That's not possible, Hermione stated flatly. The human respiratory system can't, demigod magic, Percy interrupted with a wink. Different rules. Harry returned with the large golden egg, setting it on the table between them. Every time I open it, it just screeches. Sounds like someone being tortured. Let me see. Percy picked up the egg, turning it over in his hands. His brow furrowed in concentration. There's something. I can feel water inside it. Not just inside, but like it's meant for water. He looked up. Have you tried opening it underwater? Harry blinked. No. Why would I? Just a hunch. The task is underwater, right? Maybe the clue needs to be underwater too. That actually makes sense, Hermione admitted, looking impressed. Let's try it, Harry decided. Percy, can you fill that basin over there? Percy grinned. Watch this. He flicked his hand casually, and water from the pitcher across the room arced through the air, flowing into the basin until it was full. Wicked, Ron breathed. Wandless magic? Hermione gasped. Not magic, exactly, Percy explained. Demigod abilities. I can control water in all forms. Harry brought the egg to the basin. So I just put it underwater and open it? That's my guess. Harry submerged the egg and twisted the top. Instead of screeching, a haunting melody emerged, gurgling but clearly audible. Come seek us where our voices sound, we cannot sing above the ground, and while you're searching, ponder this, we've taken what you'll sorely miss, an hour long you'll have to look, and to recover what we took, but past an hour, the prospect's black, too late, it's gone, it won't come back. Harry lifted the egg out, and the song stopped. What the hell? Mere people, Percy said immediately. They're in the lake, right? That's a mere people song. How do you know what mere people sound like? Ron asked. I've talked to them before. Advantage of being Poseidon's kid. I speak fish. You speak fish, Hermione repeated faintly. And horse. And most sea creatures. It's a whole thing. Harry was focused on the message. So the mere people will take something I'll sorely miss, and I have an hour to find it underwater. Sounds simple enough, Percy said. I can help you breathe underwater, navigate, even talk to the mere people if needed. But you can't help during the actual task, Hermione reminded them. That would be cheating. I can help him prepare, though, Percy pointed out. And trust me, by the time I'm done with him, Harry will be as comfortable underwater as a fish. Harry felt a surge of confidence. With Percy's help, the task that had seemed impossible now felt manageable. Maybe even easy. We should practice in the lake, he suggested. Get me used to breathing underwater before the task. Percy nodded. Good idea. We can start tomorrow after Chiron arrives. This is brilliant. Ron exclaimed. With Percy's help, you'll win for sure. Hermione looked less convinced. Just be careful. The lake isn't safe. There are Grindylows and the giant squid and who knows what else. Percy waved dismissively. Sea creatures love me. It comes with the territory. Even magical ones, she challenged. Guess we'll find out, Percy said with a grin that didn't entirely reassure her. As evening approached, they headed to dinner, strategizing about training schedules and research plans. The Great Hall was buzzing with speculation about the day's events, but Harry found he didn't mind the attention as much with Percy beside him. Halfway through the meal, the doors burst open. A centaur cantered in, but not Firenze or any of the forest centaurs. This one was older, with a weathered face and ancient eyes, wearing a tweed jacket over his human half. Chiron. Percy jumped up, grinning. Percy, the centaur greeted warmly. And you must be Harry Potter. Harry stood, oddly nervous. Sir. We weren't expecting you until tomorrow. Chiron smiled. Hermes offered an express delivery. Something about things getting interesting. His gaze swept the hall, taking in the enchanted ceiling and floating candles. It's been centuries since I last visited Hogwarts. The castle never ceases to amaze. Dumbledore had risen from the staff table. Chiron. Welcome back to Hogwarts. It has been too long. Albus, Chiron inclined his head. I see you've finally achieved your ambition of becoming headmaster. The last time we met, you were merely the Transfiguration professor, as I recall. Indeed. Much has changed. And much remains the same. Chiron turned back to Harry and Percy. I understand we have much to discuss regarding your bond and training. We found a place, Harry told him. The room of requirement. Neville's going to show us after dinner. Excellent. And I assume you've discovered the egg's secret? Percy nodded. Underwater task. The Mare people are going to take something important from Harry. He'll have an hour to retrieve it. Simple enough, Chiron agreed. Though I imagine the execution will be more challenging than it sounds. That's why we need to start training right away, Harry said. And we will. But first, Chiron gestured to the food. I find myself famished after the journey. Might I join you? As they made room for the centaur, who had to stand rather than sit, Harry felt a growing sense of optimism. With Percy at his side and Chiron to guide them, the tournament suddenly seemed manageable. Later that evening, Neville led them to the 7th-floor corridor, explaining how to summon the room of requirement. You walk past this blank wall 3 times, concentrating on what you need, he demonstrated. And then, a door materialized, ornate and ancient. Neville opened it to reveal a vast training space with high ceilings, padded floors, and, to Percy's obvious delight, a large pool taking up one corner. This is perfect, Harry breathed. Indeed, Chiron agreed, entering behind them. An excellent venue for what we must accomplish. Which is what, exactly? Hermione asked. Chiron regarded them all seriously. To teach Harry and Percy to control their bond before it controls them. To prepare Harry for the underwater task. And, his expression darkened slightly, to ensure they are ready for what comes after. After? Ron questioned. The tournament is merely the beginning, Chiron said. The prophecies are clear. Greater challenges await. Kronos rises in our world, while Voldemort stirs in yours. And now, with this bond. He sighed heavily. The fates have woven your destinies together for a reason. We must discover what that reason is. No pressure or anything, Percy muttered, but his expression was determined. We'll start with water training, Chiron decided. Percy, show Harry how to breathe underwater. The rest of you, he addressed Ron, Hermione, and Neville, are welcome to observe, but understand that what you witness here may challenge your understanding of magic. As they moved toward the pool, Harry felt a mix of nervousness and excitement. He'd never been a strong swimmer, the Dursleys had never bothered with lessons, but with Percy beside him, the water looked inviting rather than threatening. Ready to get wet, lightning boy? Percy asked with a grin. As ready as I'll ever be, Harry replied, matching his smile. Percy held out his hand. Harry took it without hesitation, feeling the now familiar surge of energy between them. Together, they stepped toward the water, toward whatever destiny the fates had in store. In his underwater palace, Poseidon observed his son through a shimmering vision portal. So it begins, he murmured. Across the ocean, in a hidden chamber beneath the Ministry of Magic, an ancient artifact pulsed with renewed energy. The veil, long dormant, whispered with voices only the dead could hear. And in a manor house in Little Hangleton, Lord Voldemort sensed a disturbance in his connection to Harry Potter. Something was interfering, something ancient and powerful. Wormtail, he called to his servant. Send word to our spy at Hogwarts. I want to know everything about this. Percy Jackson. The pieces were moving, the game board shifting. The gods watched with interest, the wizards with trepidation. And at the center of it all, 2 boys with a bond older than time itself prepared to face whatever came next. Together. Chapter 3, Bonds Forged in Fire. The next few weeks passed in a blur of training, classes, and increasingly bizarre rumors. By February, the Hogwarts gossip mill claimed that Percy could turn into a shark, Harry had grown gills, and they were secretly planning to flood the castle and establish an underwater kingdom. If only they knew how close that last one came to being true, Percy joked one evening as they trudged back to the castle, soaking wet after another training session in the lake. Harry grinned, wringing out his sweater. In my defense, I didn't mean to create that whirlpool. Dude, you almost sucked in the giant squid. It was awesome. Their training had progressed at a remarkable pace. Under Chiron's guidance, Harry had mastered breathing underwater, communicating with aquatic life, and navigating the murky depths of the Black Lake with ease. Meanwhile, Percy had developed a surprising affinity for wizarding magic, not through a wand, but by channeling his demigod abilities in new ways. "Check this out," Percy said, stopping at the edge of the lake. He concentrated, and a column of water rose before them. With a twist of his hand, the water hardened into a crystalline shape, a perfect replica of Hogwarts Castle, glittering in the evening light. "That's incredible," Harry breathed. "It's the bond," Percy explained. "I could always control water, but now I can transform it, like transfiguration." "Your magic, my power." Harry nodded. He'd experienced similar evolutions in his abilities. Just yesterday, he'd cast a Patronus that had taken the form of a horse made of water vapor, part stag, part hippocampus. They entered the castle, using a quick-drying charm Harry had perfected, much to Hermione's approval, to avoid tracking water everywhere. The great hall was already filled with students having dinner. "There you are," Hermione called as they slid into seats at the Gryffindor table. "We were beginning to think the Mare people had kidnapped you early." "Nah, they're saving that for tomorrow," Percy said cheerfully, piling food onto his plate. The second task was scheduled for the morning, and his appetite had grown proportionally to his nervousness about it. Ron pushed over a copy of the Evening Prophet. "You might want to see this." Harry groaned at the headline, "Ministry questions safety of demigod presence at Hogwarts." "Lovely," he muttered, scanning the article. "Fudge is deeply concerned about the influence of foreign magical entities. Umbridge suggests a thorough evaluation of Mr. Jackson's presence. Gods, they make it sound like you're carrying some contagious disease." Percy shrugged, mouth full of shepherd's pie. "Used to it. Back home, mortals either think I'm a delinquent or a hallucination." "It gets worse," Hermione warned. "Turn to page 3. Harry flipped pages to find a smaller headline: Department of Mysteries investigates rare, soul bond phenomenon. The Department of Mysteries has assembled a task force to study the unprecedented magical connection between Harry Potter and Perseus Jackson, Harry read aloud. Sources within the Ministry suggest concern that the bond may constitute an unregulated form of magical binding that could have catastrophic implications for magical security. They want to experiment on us, Percy translated. Awesome. Chiron approached their table, his expression grave. Unlike the forest centaurs, he'd adapted quickly to indoor life, though he still preferred the grounds for his teachings. "I see you've discovered today's news," he said quietly. "I'm afraid it may be worse than it appears. I've received word from Olympus that certain factions are mobilizing." "Let me guess," Percy sighed. "Zeus is freaking out. Your father is currently restraining him from raining lightning upon the Ministry of Magic, yes." Chiron's expression would have been comical in any other situation. "But that's not our most immediate concern. The Ministry has dispatched officials to evaluate your bond. They arrive tonight." "Great," Harry muttered. "Just what we need before the second task." "It's a deliberate strategy," Chiron pointed out. "They hope to catch you off guard and separate you before the task. If Percy can't assist you in preparation, I'd have a much harder time," Harry finished. "But why? What does the Ministry gain by making me fail?" "Control," Hermione said simply. "If you succeed with Percy's help, it validates your bond, something they don't understand and can't control. There's more," Chiron added reluctantly. "Ares has been seen conferring with Ministry officials. I suspect he's encouraging their intervention." Percy slammed his goblet down. "That jerk doesn't know when to quit." We'll handle it, Harry said firmly. We always do. Dumbledore approached their table, his expression uncharacteristically troubled. Harry, Mr. Jackson, I require your presence in my office. Immediately, if you please. Is this about the ministry officials? Harry asked, already standing. I'm afraid matters have accelerated beyond my expectations. They're already here. Dumbledore's eyes lacked their usual twinkle. And they've brought some unusual documentation. What kind of documentation? Percy asked suspiciously. The kind that claims jurisdiction over both of you. Come. Quickly. They followed Dumbledore through the corridors in tense silence, Percy's hand hovering near his pocket where Riptide waited. Harry kept his wand loosely in his grasp, a habit he'd developed over weeks of training. The gargoyle leapt aside without a password, and they ascended to find Dumbledore's office already crowded. McGonagall and Snape stood flanking the desk, while Cornelius Fudge, Dolores Umbridge, and two stern-looking wizards in official robes occupied the center of the room. To Harry's surprise, Percy's father Poseidon was also present, lounging against a bookshelf as if he owned the place. Ah, here they are, Fudge said with artificial cheer. Mr. Potter, Mr. Jackson, thank you for joining us. Didn't have much choice, Percy muttered, nodding to his father, who winked almost imperceptibly in return. Now then, Fudge continued, we're here to discuss this unprecedented situation. The Ministry has grave concerns about the nature of your bond. What concerns exactly? Harry asked coolly. Umbridge stepped forward, her toad-like face set in a simpering smile that made Harry's skin crawl. The Department of Mysteries has classified your connection as an unregulated magical binding of the first degree. Such connections require ministry oversight and approval. Since when? Harry challenged. Since 1743, Mr. Potter, Umbridge replied, her voice saccharine. The Magical Binding Regulatory Act clearly states that all permanent magical connections between individuals must be registered and approved by the ministry. That law refers to marriage bonds and magical contracts, McGonagall interjected sharply. Not natural magical phenomena. Actually, one of the stern wizards spoke up, our interpretation is that it applies to all magical bindings, including this unprecedented soul bond. Your interpretation is convenient, Poseidon remarked casually, examining his trident as if checking for scratches. And wrong. Fudge puffed up indignantly. Lord Poseidon, with all due respect, wizarding law predates your ministry by several millennia, Poseidon interrupted. Soul bonds fell under divine jurisdiction long before wizards invented bureaucracy. Nevertheless, Umbridge persisted, we have prepared an order for the temporary separation of Mr. Potter and Mr. Jackson, to allow for proper examination of their bond by Department of Mystery specialists. She produced an official-looking document with multiple seals and signatures. This order, she continued, authorizes the immediate relocation of Mr. Jackson to a secure ministry facility while Mr. Potter completes his obligations as a Triwizard champion. You want to lock me up for tests, Percy translated flatly. For observation, Umbridge corrected with a poisonous smile. Harry felt anger building, not just his own but Percy's too, surging through their bond like a rising tide. That's not happening. I'm afraid you don't have a choice, Mr. Potter, Fudge said, his false cheeriness evaporating. This order has been signed by the entire Wizengamot. Aurors are standing by to escort Mr. Jackson. You misunderstand, Harry interrupted, his voice dangerously calm. I'm not asking permission. I'm telling you, it's not happening. The room temperature seemed to drop. Water glasses on Dumbledore's desk began to vibrate. The boys stay together, Poseidon stated, his casual demeanor shifting to something ancient and dangerous. Olympus has spoken on this matter. Olympus has no jurisdiction here. Umbridge snapped, losing her composure. No? Poseidon raised an eyebrow. The castle foundations trembled slightly. Would you like to test that theory, madam? Dumbledore stepped forward smoothly. Perhaps we can reach a compromise. The second task takes place tomorrow. Surely any examination could wait until after its completion? Fudge hesitated, looking between Poseidon's dangerous calm and Harry and Percy's united front. That would be acceptable, he conceded reluctantly. But immediately following the task, Mr. Jackson will accompany our specialists for examination. No, Percy said simply. Mr. Jackson, defying a ministry order is a criminal offense. I'm not a British citizen, Percy pointed out. I'm not a wizard. And I'm under the protection of Olympus. Your laws don't apply to me. Then we will be forced to. Whatever threat Fudge intended was cut off by the office door slamming open. Ares swaggered in, sunglasses gleaming in the candlelight. Sorry I'm late to the party, he announced. Traffic on Olympus was murder. Literally. He grinned at his own joke. Lord Ares, Umbridge simpered, her tone suddenly respectful. How fortuitous. We were just discussing the implementation of the separation order you suggested. Percy's eyes narrowed. So you are behind this. What's your angle this time, Ares? Scared of what Harry and I can do together? Watch your tone, punk, Ares growled. I'm just doing my job. War's coming, big war, and you two lovebirds are messing with the timeline. The fates disagree, Poseidon reminded him. They've made their position clear. The fates are old news, Ares scoffed. New prophecy came in yesterday. Apollo's all worked up about it. Harry exchanged glances with Percy. What new prophecy? Nothing you need to worry about, Ares said dismissively. Just trust that the grown-ups know what's best. Like you did when you stole Zeus's master bolt and tried to frame me? Percy challenged. Or when you almost started a civil war on Olympus? Ares took a threatening step forward. You think you're smart, Jackson? You have no idea what's coming. Separating you two isn't just for the wizard's benefit. It's to keep you both alive. Explain, Harry demanded. The bond makes you stronger together, Ares conceded. But it also creates a single point of failure. Take out one of you, both go down. Basic strategy. Who's trying to take us out? Percy asked. Ares grinned nastily. Who isn't? Kronos wants you dead, Jackson. Voldemort wants Potter's head. And now they know about your connection. How long before they use it against you? A chill ran down Harry's spine. The war god had a point, loath as he was to admit it. Then we'll face that threat together, Harry said firmly. Running away from each other isn't the answer. Noble, Ares mocked. Stupid, but noble. If I may, Dumbledore interjected, there's a simple solution. Allow the boys to remain together through the tournament. Afterward, if they wish to separate for safety reasons, that will be their choice. Choice? Umbridge repeated incredulously. This isn't about choice. This is about magical security and, enough, Poseidon's voice wasn't loud, but it carried the force of ocean depths. My son and Harry Potter will remain at Hogwarts, together, until they decide otherwise. Anyone who attempts to interfere will answer to me personally. He turned to Ares. And to the council. Ares sneered but didn't argue. Even he wouldn't openly challenge Poseidon without Zeus's backing. Fine, Fudge capitulated, though his expression suggested the matter was far from resolved. But the ministry will be monitoring this situation closely. Any sign of danger or instability will be handled appropriately, Dumbledore finished smoothly. Now, I suggest we all get some rest. Tomorrow's task promises to be exciting enough without adding political confrontations to the mix. As the ministry officials reluctantly departed, Ares lingered behind. This isn't over, punks, he warned quietly. War's coming, whether you like it or not. And in war, there are always casualties. With that ominous statement, he vanished in a flash of red light. Poseidon approached the boys, his expression softening. That went about as well as expected. They'll be back, won't they? Harry asked. With reinforcements, Poseidon confirmed. The ministry fears what it cannot control. And Ares? He sighed. My nephew sees only conflict. It's his nature. What about this new prophecy he mentioned? Percy asked. Poseidon's expression turned guarded. I'm not aware of any new prophecy from Apollo. It may be a ploy. Or it may not be, Dumbledore noted. Prophecies have a way of emerging at precisely the most inconvenient moments. Either way, Harry said, we're sticking to the plan. I'll complete the second task tomorrow, and then Percy and I will figure out what this bond means on our own terms. A wise approach, Poseidon approved. Now, I must return to Olympus. Zeus is unsettled by recent developments. He placed a hand on Percy's shoulder. Be careful, son. And remember, water always finds a path. With that cryptic advice, the sea god dissolved into mist, leaving behind the scent of ocean spray. You should both get some rest, Dumbledore advised. Tomorrow will test you in ways beyond the merely physical. As they left his office, Percy nudged Harry's shoulder. Dramatic exit, huh? Gods love those. Harry managed a tired smile. Runs in the family, I guess. Percy's expression turned serious. You know Ares wasn't just blowing smoke, right? He's planning something. When isn't someone planning something? Harry replied wearily. At least this time I'm not facing it alone. Never alone, Percy agreed. That's kind of the whole point of this bond thing. They made their way back to Gryffindor Tower in companionable silence, each lost in thought about what the next day would bring. What neither realized was that they were being watched, by Rita Skeeter's animagus form buzzing near a corridor torch, by a portrait whose eyes followed them too intently, and by a dark presence lurking at the edges of Harry's consciousness, more interested than ever in the boy who had somehow connected himself to ancient power beyond wizarding understanding. The morning of the second task dawned cold and gray. Harry woke feeling oddly calm despite the challenges ahead. Beside him, in the extra bed that had been squeezed into the Gryffindor boys' dormitory, Percy was already awake, staring at the ceiling. Ready? Harry asked. Born ready, Percy replied with his usual bravado, though Harry could feel his nervousness through their bond. Just one problem. What's that? Ron never came back last night. Harry sat up, glancing at Ron's empty bed. Maybe he's at breakfast already? Maybe, Percy agreed, not sounding convinced. But Hermione wasn't in the common room either when I came up last night. And Neville said he hasn't seen Grover since dinner. A cold feeling settled in Harry's stomach. We've taken what you'll sorely miss. You don't think, the hostages, Harry realized. They've taken Ron, Hermione, and Grover. Percy jumped up, suddenly fully alert. Those sneaky mare people. Taking my best friend? Oh, it is on. They dressed quickly and hurried down to the Great Hall, where the atmosphere was charged with pre-task excitement. Scanning the Gryffindor table confirmed their suspicions: no Ron, no Hermione, and no Grover. Neville waved them over. Morning. Ready for the task? Have you seen Ron or Hermione? Harry asked urgently. No, Neville frowned. Actually, Professor McGonagall came looking for them last night. Said Dumbledore wanted to see them. Harry and Percy exchanged grim looks. They're the hostages, Percy confirmed. The thing we'll sorely miss. But there are only 3 champions, Harry pointed out. Why take Grover too? Because I'm officially helping you, Percy realized. So they gave me my own hostage to rescue. But you're not supposed to participate in the actual task, Neville reminded them. I don't think the Mare people got that memo, Percy said darkly. Chiron approached their table, his expression confirming their fears. I see you've deduced the situation. The hostages are perfectly safe, merely in an enchanted sleep until they're brought to the surface. You knew about this? Percy demanded. I was informed last night, Chiron admitted. It's traditional for the task. No real harm will come to them. That doesn't make it okay to kidnap our friends. Harry protested. I quite agree, Chiron surprised them by saying. I registered my objection with the tournament organizers. However, we have more pressing concerns. The ministry officials have returned, with additional support. He nodded toward the entrance, where Umbridge stood conferring with several stern-looking wizards in Department of Mysteries robes. They're planning to intervene after the task, Chiron continued quietly. To forcibly separate you for examination. Let them try, Percy muttered, hand slipping to his pocket where Riptide waited. Violence won't solve this, Chiron cautioned. But perhaps a demonstration might. Demonstration? Harry repeated. Chiron's ancient eyes twinkled with something like mischief. Show them what your bond can really do. Make it clear that separation would be not just unwise but impossible. You want us to go all out during the task? Percy grinned. Seriously? Within reason, Chiron qualified. Remember, Harry must technically complete the task alone. But there's nothing in the rules against making an entrance. Now you're talking, Percy's grin widened. I have just the idea. Before he could elaborate, Ludo Bagman's magically amplified voice echoed through the hall. All champions to the lake. The second task begins in 30 minutes. That's my cue, Harry said, standing. Time to go save our friends. And make a statement, Percy added meaningfully. They headed down to the lake, where a crowd had already gathered along the shore. The other champions were huddled with their respective headmasters, receiving last-minute advice. The judges sat at a gold-draped table, with Dumbledore centermost. Mr. Potter, McGonagall called, waving him over. Are you prepared for the task? As I'll ever be, Harry replied. Though I'm not thrilled about Ron and Hermione being used as bait. McGonagall's expression softened slightly. I assure you, they are perfectly safe. The Mare people will guard them well. They'd better, Percy muttered. Umbridge approached, flanked by her Department of Mysteries cronies. Mr. Potter, Mr. Jackson. A word before the task begins. We're kind of busy, Harry said coldly. This won't take long, she insisted, her voice sickly sweet. We merely wish to clarify the separation procedure for after the task. Mr. Jackson will accompany these gentlemen to a secure facility for examination, while you, Mr. Potter, will remain at Hogwarts. That's not happening, Harry stated flatly. I'm afraid it's non-negotiable, Umbridge's smile widened. We have authorization to use whatever means necessary. Whatever means, huh? Percy stepped forward, his normally laid-back demeanor hardening. You really want to find out what happens when you try to forcibly separate a soul bond? Because I guarantee it won't be pretty. Is that a threat, Mr. Jackson? Umbridge's eyes narrowed. Nope. Just physics. Or magical physics. Whatever you call it when two bonded people get ripped apart against their will. Percy shrugged. Last time it happened, I heard a volcano erupted. But hey, your call. Umbridge's confidence wavered slightly. The Department of Mysteries has contained far more dangerous magical phenomena, but you've never dealt with us, Harry interrupted. And you don't want to start now. Before she could respond, Bagman's voice boomed out again. Champions, take your positions. The second task will begin in 2 minutes. Excuse us, Harry said, not politely. I have a task to complete. They moved away, leaving Umbridge sputtering behind them. That felt good, Harry admitted as they reached the lake's edge. "Just wait," Percy promised. "The main event's going to be even better." The champions lined up along the shore. Krum had partially transfigured himself with a shark's head, while Fleur and Cedric both appeared to be preparing bubble-head charms. Harry stood calmly, without any visible means of surviving underwater. "Nothing to help you breathe underwater, Potter?" Bagman asked, concerned. "I'm covered," Harry replied confidently. Percy stepped back into the crowd beside Chiron, giving Harry a subtle thumbs up. "On my whistle," Bagman announced. 3, 2, 1, the whistle blew. Cedric and Fleur cast their bubblehead charms and waded into the water. Krum completed his partial transfiguration and dove in with a splash. Harry simply stood at the edge, waiting. Murmurs of confusion spread through the crowd. "Potter, the task has begun," Bagman called anxiously. Harry nodded, then raised his hand toward the lake. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the surface began to ripple, then churn, then part like the Red Sea in the biblical tale, forming a perfect pathway straight down into the depths, with walls of water rising on either side. Gasps and shouts erupted from the spectators. Even the judges looked stunned. Harry calmly walked forward, entering the parted waters, proceeding downward into the lake as if strolling through a corridor. The pathway remained open behind him, defying all natural laws. From the crowd, Percy watched with satisfaction, channeling his power through their bond to maintain the aquatic miracle. It was easier than he'd expected. Harry's magic amplified his own abilities tenfold, allowing him to hold the lake waters back with minimal effort. "Extraordinary," Chiron murmured beside him. "Even for a son of Poseidon, this is remarkable control." Percy grinned. "Just getting started." In the judges' stand, Umbridge had gone deathly pale. "This is impossible," she whispered. "No wizard can command water this way." "No wizard alone, perhaps," Dumbledore said quietly, his eyes twinkling. "But Mr. Potter is not alone, is he?" Down in the parted lake, Harry walked steadily deeper, passing startled fish and grindylows that pressed against the watery walls, watching him with wary confusion. He could feel Percy's power flowing through him, enhancing his own magic in ways he was only beginning to understand. Remembering their plan, Harry raised his wand. Lumos Maxima. The spell shot upward, not as a simple light but as a column of glowing blue energy that illuminated the entire pathway and burst above the lake's surface in a spectacular display. The crowd gasped again. Through their bond, Harry felt Percy's approval and encouragement. He continued downward until he reached the merpeople's village. The underwater settlement lay exposed, the parted waters creating a bizarre scene of merpeople flopping in puddles, clutching weapons and staring at him in shock. In the center of the village square, 4 figures floated, tethered to a large statue: Ron, Hermione, Grover, and a small blonde girl Harry didn't recognize but guessed was related to Fleur. All appeared to be in a deep, enchanted sleep. The Merchiftainess approached, her expression wary but respectful. "You come with the blessing of the Sea Lord," she said in English rather than Mermish. "We did not expect such a display of power." "I've come for my friends," Harry replied simply. "All of them." "You may take only your own hostage," she stated, though without much conviction. Harry raised an eyebrow, channeling his inner Percy. "Really? You want to argue with the guy controlling your entire lake right now?" The Merchiftainess hesitated, then gestured to her warriors to stand down. "Take them. But no, this was not our plan. We follow the wizard's tournament rules." "I understand," Harry said more gently. "It's not your fault." He approached the hostages and used a cutting charm to free all 4 of them. As soon as they were released, the enchantment partially lifted, enough for them to breathe but not fully wake. Supporting Ron and Hermione while magically levitating Grover and the little girl, Harry turned back toward his watery pathway. The merpeople parted before him, some bowing slightly. Please tell Lord Poseidon we mean no disrespect, the Merchiftainess called after him. He knows, Harry assured her, though he had no idea if that was true. The journey back up was slower with 4 semi-conscious hostages to manage, but Harry maintained his focus. Through their bond, he could feel Percy's concentration, the effort of keeping the waters parted for so long starting to strain even his considerable abilities. Almost there, Harry murmured, knowing Percy would feel his encouragement. When he finally emerged onto the surface, the crowd erupted in cheers and astonished shouts. Harry guided the hostages gently onto the shore before turning back to the lake. With a dramatic gesture that was entirely for show, but effective nonetheless, he released the waters. The pathway collapsed in a massive surge that sent waves crashing against the shore, soaking many of the closest spectators. Percy pushed through the crowd to his side, grinning madly. Dude, that was epic. The hostages were beginning to wake fully. Ron sat up first, looking bewildered. What the bloody hell just happened? Harry just parted the entire lake like some kind of wizard Moses, Neville explained, awestruck. With a little help, Harry added, bumping Percy's shoulder. Grover bleated anxiously as he regained consciousness. Did someone say Percy? Why am I all wet? And why does my mouth taste like lake weed? Hermione was already piecing things together. You used your bond with Percy to control the water, she realized. That's beyond extraordinary magic, Harry. It wasn't just me, Harry insisted. It was both of us. The judges were in an uproar, arguing about scoring and whether what they'd witnessed constituted outside help. Umbridge was gesticulating wildly, her face an alarming shade of puce. Fleur emerged from the lake, looking distraught. Seeing the small blonde girl safe on shore, she rushed over. Gabrielle. You saved her? She asked Harry, disbelieving. Even though she was not your hostage? I couldn't leave her there, Harry shrugged. Fleur kissed his cheeks in gratitude, then turned to Percy. And you, this water control. C'est magnifique. Crumb surfaced next, his shark head receding into his normal features. He looked both impressed and annoyed when he saw all hostages already rescued. Cedric was the last to emerge, his bubblehead charm still intact. Bloody hell, Harry, he said after dispelling it. How did you do that? Before Harry could answer, Ludo Bagman's magically amplified voice rose over the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, an unprecedented development in the Triwizard Tournament. Harry Potter has not only rescued his own hostage but all hostages, and in record time. However, the judges are conferring about possible rule violations concerning outside assistance. Percy tensed beside Harry. Here we go. Dumbledore approached with the other judges, his expression unreadable. Mr. Potter, that was quite a display. Thank you, sir. The question before us is whether you received direct assistance during the task itself, Dumbledore continued. Mr. Jackson remained on shore throughout, yet his influence was evident. The bond allowed me to channel Percy's abilities, Harry explained. But I completed the task alone, as required. Karkaroff sneered. This is clearly cheating. Potter has access to abilities no wizard should possess. The rules state champions may use any skills or abilities at their disposal, Dumbledore pointed out mildly. They do not specify the origin of those abilities. This is an outrage. Karkaroff protested. Actually, Bagman interjected, looking excited rather than upset, it's brilliant. Think of the publicity. Boy who lived parts lake like Moses. The prophet will have a field day. While the judges continued arguing, Umbridge marched over, flanked by her Department of Mysteries cronies and, to Harry's disgust, Ares in the guise of a ministry official. This display proves exactly what we feared, Umbridge declared. Your combined power is too dangerous to remain unregulated. Mr. Jackson will come with us now. Percy's hand moved to his pocket. I don't think so, lady. This is not a request, Ares growled, his human disguise slipping slightly to reveal fiery eyes. It's an order. From Olympus and the ministry. Funny, said a new voice, I don't recall authorizing any such order. They turned to find Aphrodite standing there, radiant in wizard-style robes that somehow looked like high fashion on her. Beside her stood a teenage girl with stormy gray eyes and a Yankees cap tucked in her back pocket. Annabeth! Percy exclaimed, surprised and delighted. Surprise, she smiled, though her eyes remained serious. Thought you could use some backup. Lord Ares, Aphrodite addressed the war god sweetly, would you care to explain why you're impersonating a ministry official and attempting to interfere with a soul bond the fates have explicitly protected? Ares's disguise melted away entirely, revealing his leather jacket and sunglasses. Come on, Dite. You know why. This bond screws up all our plans. Kronos rising, the prophecy, all of it. Your plans, perhaps, Aphrodite corrected. Not mine. Not Poseidon's. And certainly not the fates. Umbridge, momentarily stunned by the appearance of another goddess, recovered her composure. This is a ministry matter. Foreign divine entities have no authority here. Annabeth raised an eyebrow. You might want to rethink that position. She pointed skyward. Above the lake, the clouds had formed an unmistakable pattern, a trident crossed with a lightning bolt. That's Zeus and Poseidon's combined symbol, Percy explained to Harry. It means they're in agreement. Probably for the first time in centuries. The council has ruled, Aphrodite announced. The soul bond remains intact. Any attempt to separate Harry Potter and Percy Jackson against their will is forbidden. Impossible, Ares growled. Zeus would never, he did, said yet another new arrival, a teenager in jeans and a sleeveless t-shirt, with sunglasses and AirPods, looking wildly out of place among the wizarding crowd. Just now. Full council vote. You lost, Ares. Apollo, Ares spat. This is your doing, isn't it? That convenient new prophecy. Apollo shrugged. Don't kill the messenger, bro, prophecies happen. I just deliver them. What prophecy? Harry demanded. Apollo turned to him, lowering his sunglasses slightly. The one about you and Percy, obviously. Bound souls from separate shores, together stand against the rising tide. Apart they fall, divided they die, united they challenge both mortal and divine. That's straightforward as prophecies go, Percy commented. Yeah, I've been working on clarity, Apollo agreed. The whole cryptic thing is so last millennium. Umbridge looked ready to explode. This is preposterous. The ministry does not recognize the authority of foreign divine entities. That's where you're wrong, Dolores, said yet another new voice. Arthur Weasley stepped forward, accompanied by a severe-looking witch in a monocle. The ministry's official position has just changed. Arthur? Umbridge spluttered. What is the meaning of this? Madame Bones has convened an emergency session of the Wizengamot, Arthur explained. In light of recent celestial signs. It was decided that diplomatic relations with Olympus should be immediately established. Relations, yes, Umbridge seized on this. But that doesn't mean surrender of jurisdiction over a British wizard. Actually, the monocled witch, presumably Madame Bones, interjected, the Wizengamot specifically addressed the Potter-Jackson bond. It has been classified as a protected magical phenomenon under the Ancient Powers Preservation Act of 1317. There is no such act. Umbridge protested. There is, Dumbledore confirmed, eyes twinkling merrily. Though it hasn't been invoked in some time. Not since Godric Gryffindor's bond with the daughter of Athena, as I recall. Harry stepped forward, tired of being discussed as if he wasn't present. Look, I appreciate everyone's concern, but Percy and I have made our decision. We're staying together. We're learning to control our abilities. And we're not experiments for either the Ministry or Olympus to study. Well said, Chiron approved, cantering up to join them. The boys have demonstrated remarkable responsibility with their power. Far more than some immortals I could name. He gave Ares a pointed look. Ares growled but seemed to recognize he was outnumbered. This isn't over. War's coming, whether you acknowledge it or not. And we'll face it together, Percy said firmly. That's kind of the whole point of the prophecy, isn't it? The war god had no answer for that. With a last threatening glare, he vanished in a flash of red light. Umbridge looked around at the assembled gods, wizards, and officials, realizing her position had become untenable. The Ministry reserves the right to monitor this situation, she declared, attempting to save face. Any sign of danger to the wizarding public will be addressed by Harry and Percy themselves, Arthur interrupted smoothly. As they've demonstrated quite capable of doing. With the bureaucratic threat neutralized, attention returned to the tournament. After much deliberation, the judges awarded Harry full points for speed, magical innovation, and rescuing all hostages, putting him in first place despite Karkaroff's objections. As the crowd dispersed, heading back to the castle for lunch, Harry found himself surrounded by friends both old and new. Ron and Hermione, still damp but impressed, Grover and Annabeth, the latter studying him with intelligent gray eyes, Fred and George, already planning marketing opportunities, portable parting Cs, imagine the possibilities, and Percy, looking more relaxed than he had in weeks. So, Harry said to Annabeth, "You're Percy's friend from camp?" "Something like that," she replied with a small smile. "I'm his anchor to reality when his head gets too big." "It's a full-time job," Percy admitted, slinging an arm around her shoulders. "Annabeth's a daughter of Athena. Smartest demigod you'll ever meet." "How much has Seaweed Brain told you about our world?" she asked Harry. "Bits and pieces. Mostly the gods exist, monsters want to eat us highlights." Annabeth nodded. "That covers the basics. But there's a lot more to it. Especially with this soul bond. I've been researching since Percy IM'd me about it." "Of course you have," Percy teased. "Found anything useful?" Harry asked. "Maybe. The last documented wizard-demigod bond was Godric Gryffindor and my half-sister Sophia. Their combined power helped establish Hogwarts' magical protections, which explains why the castle has lasted 1,000 years without crumbling." "So our bond could create lasting magic?" Harry asked, intrigued. "More than that," Annabeth's gray eyes gleamed with excitement. "It could potentially bridge our worlds permanently. Create new forms of magic neither pantheon has seen before. That explains why some people are so keen to control it," Hermione observed. "Or prevent it entirely. Power always attracts control freaks," Percy said sagely. "Gods, wizards, doesn't matter, they all want to call the shots." "Speaking of control," Chiron interrupted, approaching with Dumbledore, "now that the immediate crisis has passed, we should discuss your continued training. The bond will only grow stronger with time. And more volatile if not properly channeled," Dumbledore added. "Despite today's victory, there are still those who would seek to exploit or destroy your connection." "Voldemort," Harry stated flatly. "And Kronos," Percy added. "They're probably comparing notes as we speak." "That's a disturbing thought," Ron grimaced. "But not implausible," Chiron acknowledged. "Dark powers often recognize each other across pantheons." "So what now?" Harry asked, suddenly tired. The strain of the task and the magical display had drained him more than he'd realized. "Now," Dumbledore said, "we prepare. The third task approaches in June. And beyond that. War," Percy finished grimly. "Just like Ares said. But we'll face it together," Harry stated, not a question but a declaration. "All of us." He looked around at the assembled friends, wizard and demigod alike. Together, they agreed in unison. As they made their way back to the castle, Harry felt Percy's presence in his mind, steady, reassuring, like an ocean depth that nothing could disturb. Through their bond flowed power, yes, but also something more important, understanding. The knowledge that whatever came next, neither would face it alone. The future remained uncertain, filled with prophecies and dangers from two worlds now irrevocably linked. But for the first time since learning of his connection to Voldemort, Harry felt truly hopeful. Not just because of the power he and Percy shared, but because of what that power represented, a bridge between worlds, a new kind of magic built on friendship and choice rather than manipulation and control. Ahead, Hogwarts stood silhouetted against the winter sky, its ancient towers reaching toward clouds still marked with divine symbols. Behind, the lake rippled peacefully, as if it hadn't been dramatically parted less than an hour before. "Weird day," Percy commented beside him. Harry laughed. "Weird life. Wouldn't have it any other way." "Me neither," Harry realized, and meant it. Epilogue. 3 months later the Room of Requirement had transformed itself yet again, this time into a space resembling both the Gryffindor Common Room and Camp Half-Blood's Rec Room. Comfortable couches mingled with strategy tables, magical training dummies stood beside celestial bronze weapons racks. Harry and Percy sat cross-legged in the center, eyes closed, hands loosely clasped. Around them, water and fire swirled in a controlled double helix, neither element extinguishing the other. "That's impressive," Annabeth commented from where she sat reviewing ancient texts with Hermione. The two had formed an immediate intellectual bond, spending countless hours researching wizard-demigod connections. "They've come a long way," Chiron agreed, watching his students with obvious pride. The centaur had extended his stay at Hogwarts indefinitely, becoming something of a celebrity among the students. Ron looked up from his wizard chess game with Grover. "How long have they been at it now?" 2 hours, 17 minutes, Hermione answered without checking her watch. The doors opened, admitting Dumbledore and, surprisingly, Poseidon. The god had become a semi-regular visitor to Hogwarts, much to the continued consternation of the Ministry. "Still at it, I see," Poseidon observed, watching his son with approval. "They're attempting to access the deepest level of the bond," Chiron explained. "The place where their magic fully merges." "Dangerous," Dumbledore commented mildly. "Necessary," Chiron countered. "If what our intelligence suggests is correct." That intelligence, gathered from both Camp Half-Blood's demigod scouts and the Order of the Phoenix's informants, painted a troubling picture. Voldemort and Kronos, while not directly allied, had established communication. Both recognized the threat that Harry and Percy's bond represented to their respective plans. The water and fire surrounding the boys suddenly shifted, merging into a new element, something fluid yet bright, neither entirely water nor fire but something new. A gasp went around the room. "They've done it," Chiron whispered. Harry and Percy opened their eyes simultaneously, both glowing with the same blue-green light. When they spoke, it was in perfect unison, their voices overlapping in harmonic resonance. "We see them. Both of them. Planning. Preparing." The boys turned their glowing gaze to Dumbledore. "The graveyard trap. We see it now." Dumbledore leaned forward intently. "For the third task?" They nodded. "The cup is a portkey. Meant to deliver Harry alone. To resurrect Voldemort with his blood." Poseidon stepped closer. "And Kronos?" "Waiting. Watching. He believes Voldemort's rise will distract Olympus. Create opportunity." "This is unprecedented," Dumbledore murmured. "They're seeing current events from a distance." "Not seeing," Chiron corrected. "Knowing. The deepest level of the bond transcends normal spacetime constraints. It's how the original Oracle operated before Apollo took over the prophecy business." The strange element surrounding Harry and Percy slowly dissipated as they released hands. The glow faded from their eyes, and they slumped slightly, exhausted but elated. That was. Harry began. Intense, Percy finished. But we saw it all, Harry continued. The whole plan. Barty Crouch Jr. impersonating Moody. The trap at the third task. And Luke's plan to use the Golden Fleece, Percy added. Everything. Then we have what we need, Dumbledore said. To prepare properly. Poseidon nodded gravely. For both wars. In the week since the second task, a remarkable collaboration had formed between Hogwarts and Camp Half-Blood. Demigods regularly visited for training sessions, while selected Hogwarts students traveled to the camp to learn non-wizard combat techniques. The Ministry, after initial resistance, had reluctantly established a Pantheon Relations Department, headed by Arthur Weasley. The gods, equally reluctant, had assigned Hermes as their liaison, a role he approached with characteristic mischief and surprising diplomacy. So what's next? Ron asked, looking between Harry and Percy. We spring their trap, Harry said simply. But on our terms, Percy added with a grin that promised trouble for their enemies. A dangerous gambit, Dumbledore cautioned. But a necessary one, Harry countered, with a confidence he would never have shown the headmaster before the bond. We need Voldemort to reveal himself. And we need to know exactly what Luke's planning with the fleece, Percy added. Half measures won't cut it anymore. Hermione closed her book decisively. We'll need to coordinate both operations. If Voldemort and Kronos are sharing information, we need to strike simultaneously. A two-front offensive, Annabeth agreed. Hit them before they realize we know. As they gathered around the strategy table, Harry caught Percy's eye. Through their bond flowed a current of shared understanding, the weight of what lay ahead, but also the strength they'd found together. Where once Harry had felt manipulated by everyone from Dumbledore to Mrs. Weasley, he now stood at the center of a coalition he'd helped build, his choices his own. Where Percy had once shouldered his prophecy alone, he now had allies from a world he'd never known existed. The bond that Aphrodite had revealed that fateful night at the Yule Ball had become far more than either boy could have imagined, not just a magical connection, but a bridge between worlds that had been separate for too long. Whatever happens, Harry said quietly to Percy as the others debated strategy, I'm glad it was you. Percy bumped his shoulder. Same here, lightning boy. Guess those love potions did us a favor in the end. How do you figure that? They failed. And in failing, they revealed something better. Percy grinned. A friendship even the gods can't mess with. Harry smiled back. Whatever prophecies awaited them, whatever battles loomed on the horizon, that friendship would remain their greatest power, the thing Voldemort and Kronos could never understand and therefore never defeat. Together, they turned back to the planning table, ready to forge their own destiny across pantheons. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.